found my daughter's car today, and it smells like there's been a dead body in the damn car.
By now, I'm sure you've heard the name Caylee Anthony all over social media. And it has come to my attention that I am ancient as shit. And most people under the age of 30 have no idea who Caylee Anthony is, what Caylee Anthony did, who Caylee Anthony was, or that Caylee Anthony got away with murdering her 2-year-old daughter, Caylee. So in this video, I'm going to go over a timeline of the things that happened. I'm going to introduce you to the family and explain to you what a pathological liar Caylee Anthony is and how she basically got away with murder. So let's get into it. Most important things that I think people need to realize is that Caylee Anthony is a master manipulator and a pathological liar. She has lied about everything, including graduating high school. I mean, led her parents on a goose chase, thinking that she was going to graduate up until the week of graduation. And then she's like, oh, by the way, I dropped out months ago. The lies are absolutely insane. August 9th, 2005, Caylee Marie Anthony was born to Caylee Anthony. Now, the father of Caylee Marie Anthony is unknown because, another lie, Caylee has said that the first guy, it was a man in the military who lost his life during active combat. Then it was a man who took his own life. And then another story came out that it was just a guy who ran off. So the father of Caylee Marie Anthony is unknown. Now, Caylee and Caylee went to go live with George and Cindy Anthony. That's Caylee's parents. Caylee's dad is a detective, or he was. He's retired now. This case hits pretty close to home for George Anthony. Now, while Caylee and Caylee lived with George and Cindy were very active in their granddaughter's life because, well, Caylee prioritized herself, partying, and alcohol over her family, over her child, and over everything. Caylee is the center of Caylee's own world. So fast forward to Father's Day of 2008, Caylee and her family get into an argument. Caylee gets Caylee and she takes off in her car. That was June 15th, 2008. That is the last time anybody saw baby Caylee alive. Now, fast forward a few weeks, George and Cindy had reached out to Caylee, and Caylee had told them she was traveling for work and that her and Caylee were doing just fine. She had a nanny, and that every time George and Cindy had called to talk to Caylee, Caylee was with the nanny, supposedly. Sometimes she was at the beach with the nanny, sometimes she was at Disney with the nanny, but it always sounded like Caylee was having fun. About 4 weeks after Father's Day, George gets a letter in the mail that Caylee's car had been impounded. And Caylee hadn't said the car was disabled, she was in trouble, nothing. So this was a shock to them. So George goes down to the impound lot, and the first thing he notices is this horrid stench coming out of Caylee's car. And being a detective, working with cases like this, he knew what that smell was. He takes the car back to the family home, and by 15th, 2008, Cindy makes the first 911 call.
My daughter finally admitted that the baby's in the store. I need to find her.
Your daughter admitted that the baby is where?
But the babysitter took her a month ago. My daughter's been looking for her. I told you my daughter was missing for a month. I just found her today, but I can't find my granddaughter. And she just admitted to me that she's been trying to find her herself. There's something wrong. I found my daughter's car today, and it smells like there's been a dead body in the damn car.
Okay, what is the 3-year-old's name?
Caylee, Caylee, Anthony.
Her grandmother is the one who made the 911 call. She was very frantic over it all. And when you hear Caylee get on the phone with 911, she's not very frantic at all.
How long has she been missing for?
I have not seen her since the 7th of June.
Is your daughter there?
Yes.
Can I speak with her?
She's downstairs. They want to talk to you.
She said, I don't have anything to talk to them.
Answer the question. Hello?
Hello?
Yes.
Can you tell me what's going on a little bit?
I'm sorry?
Can you tell me a little bit what's going on?
My daughter's been missing for the last 31 days.
And you know who has her?
I know who has her. I've tried to contact her. I actually received a phone call today, now from a number that is no longer in service. I did get to speak to my daughter for about a minute.
Who has her? Do you have a name?
Her name is Zenaida Fernandez Gonzalez. She's been my nanny for about 1.5 years, almost 2 years.
Why are you calling now? Why didn't you call 31 days ago?
I've been looking for her and have gone through other resources to try to find her, which was stupid. I think the officers are here.
The officers are there?
Yes.
Over the next day, Caylee leads investigators on a wild goose chase. She first says that she dropped baby Caylee off with Zanny the nanny. That was the name she came up with, Zanny the nanny, which was not true at all. Caylee took investigators to an apartment complex, pointed out an apartment building that was not Zanny's. Actually, it had been empty for several months, according to the management company of the apartment building. Caylee told investigators that nanny Zanny was watching Caylee while she worked at Disney. Now, the officers didn't really believe her, so they said, take us to your office at Disney. Caylee took them all the way back into these office buildings at Disney and then looked at them and said, okay, I really don't work here. Another lie. Now, mind you, this is all while her child is going missing. When you are giving officers false information, that is just hindering the investigation to find your missing child. So none of this makes any sense. Why, if you were innocent, would you be lying to investigators like this? She also told investigators that she had been out looking for Caylee every day, all day, which turns out to be not true, because surveillance shows her writing bad checks at Target. In the middle of all of this, not one item for Caylee in that whole Target order. There was food, there was toilet paper, there was adult women's clothes, nothing for baby Caylee. So it didn't seem like she was looking for Caylee at all. She knew where she already was. So July 16th, 2008, investigators arrest Caylee for child neglect and providing false information to police. Now, July 17th, they sent cadaver dogs into Caylee's car, and the cadaver dogs had alerted to decomposition of a body. So they started investigating the car a little further, and by August 27th, 2008, they had determined that there was human remains in that car at one point. They also found a hair in that car that could have only been from one of the Anthony family members, a female, that had post-mortem root banding on it. It can only happen after you are no longer living. And I have to be careful what I say on here because some of these apps don't like certain words. But basically, it is a hair strand after death of a female from the Anthony family. What female? Cindy's still alive. Casey's still alive. And we can't find Caylee. October 14th, 2008, the grand jury indicts Caylee on murder charges. December 11th, 2008, a utility worker finds what they believe to be human remains very close to George and Cindy's house. December 19th, authorities announce that they have confirmed that the human remains that were found several days earlier were that of Caylee Marie Anthony, 2 years old. When they found those remains, there was duct tape around the nose, the mouth, and the neck. And there was a heart sticker over the mouth. These stickers were part of a set that were found in Caylee Anthony's bedroom in the Anthony home, in George and Cindy's home. Now, Caylee's trial begins. There's experts that testify that the smell in the car, the air quality, all were absolutely from baby Caylee, and there was nothing else that they could be. It was not a bag of trash. It was not a bag of old food. It was that of Caylee Marie Anthony. Also came out in the trial that several months before they moved out of the Anthony home, Caylee logged into the family computer and was searching things like strangulation, chloroform, breaking necks, crazy, bizarre things like that. And then immediately logged into her MySpace account, all during the hours that George and Cindy Anthony would have been at work. Now, it has also come out, there's photo evidence of this. Before she was reported missing, Caylee was out at a hot body contest. She was out drinking. She was out with several different guys, several different nights. She also got a tattoo, and translation in English, it says beautiful life, which later she said was a fuck you to her mom and dad, but that doesn't really make any sense either. Another lie. She was out at nightclubs. She was out at house parties. She was out doing anything other than looking for her daughter. Now, while Caylee was in jail, some of the jail phone calls have come out. Any of these phone calls, she always refers to Caylee in the past tense when they are still looking for her. She doesn't seem too concerned. She is more concerned for herself and getting a hold of her boyfriend, not her daughter. The jurors were 5 men, 7 women, and it only took them 10 hours and 40 minutes to come to a verdict.
To the charge of first-degree murder, verdict as to count 1. We, the jury, find the defendant not guilty. As to the charge of aggravated child abuse, verdict as to count 2. We, the jury, find the defendant not guilty. As to the charge of aggravated manslaughter of a child, verdict as to count 3. We, the jury, find the defendant not guilty.
Caylee Marie Anthony, the jury of your peers, having found you not guilty as to the charge contained in count 1 of the indictment, murder in the first degree, at this time, I will adjudge you to be not guilty. As to count 2, the crime of aggravated child abuse, a jury of your peers having found you to be not guilty, the court will adjudge you to be not guilty of the crime contained in count 2. As to count 3, aggravated manslaughter of a child, a jury of your peers having found you not guilty, I will adjudge you to be not guilty of that count. As to counts 4, 5, 6, and 7, providing false information to a law enforcement officer, I will adjudge you to be guilty of those counts in order that you be fingerprinted here in open court.
Caylee's defense had put reasonable doubt that it could have been somebody else, and they blamed George, the grandpa. So 7 women, 5 men came back in 10 hours and 40 minutes with a not guilty verdict on July 7th, 2011. Let me tell you, most of us that were around and watched this case unfold in real time back in 2008, 2009, 2010, 2011, we remember where we were at when that verdict was read. We all knew she was guilty. The judge knew she was guilty. Have to go with the judicial system and what happens. And unfortunately, there was enough doubt that it could have been somebody else, despite all the lies, despite her partying, despite her not reporting her child missing, despite all that. It could have been somebody else. Nobody in their right mind that watched this whole thing go down thinks that it could have been somebody else. And that is why most people think that Caylee Anthony got away with murdering her 2-year-old daughter, Caylee Marie Anthony. Found her not guilty of first-degree murder. However, they did find her guilty on 4 misdemeanor bullshit charges. So she was sentenced to 4 years and a couple $1,000s in fines. However, she was credited for time served. So she got out shortly after all of this. Caylee never got justice. The world was devastated. And since then, Caylee hasn't tried to find the person who did this. Hasn't tried to seek justice for her child because she knows what happened. She knows what she did to that baby. Now, the only little bit of justice that came out of this, September 15th, 2011, a judge did declare that Caylee needed to pay around $200,000 for the search, the investigation, and everything surrounding looking for baby Caylee. But Caylee won up them and filed for bankruptcy shortly after that. Now, here's my conclusion on all of it and some of my opinions. Some of my commenters have said this, and I am leaning to believe that they are correct. I feel like Caylee Anthony is targeting a younger audience. Again, anybody under the age of 30 really doesn't know what she did. They didn't watch it go down in real time, but I guarantee you your parents did, or your grandparents, or somebody that is 30 years or older. We know what happened. That is why many of us are absolutely flipping outraged right now. Nobody wants her on this platform. Caylee never got justice. Caylee will be forever 2 years old. 31 days. 31 days it took a mother to even admit that her daughter was missing. And she didn't even report it. Her grandmother did. 31 days. If my dog got out for 15 fucking seconds, I would be frantic. I can't imagine waiting 31 days. 31 days. Caylee Anthony should be 20 years old right now. She should have graduated high school. She should have had her first breakup. She should be onto her career field. She didn't get that opportunity because her mother was more worried about partying. Her mother was more worried about herself. Caylee Anthony never stood a chance. Caylee could have given that baby to Cindy and George and went on about her life, and Cindy and George would have raised Caylee. This destroyed that family. And Cindy said her own words, I lost my daughter and my granddaughter that day. My priority was always Caylee, her granddaughter. But she lost both of them that day. All these lies. Caylee, we know what you did. We know that you didn't prioritize that baby. And those of us that watch this happen in real time, watch the trial, watch the verdict, listen to the verdict be read. None of us think you deserve a platform. This platform that you say was thrust upon you. It was not thrust upon you. Nobody asked you to be here. My personal opinion, I think you're jealous of Gypsy Rose. I can honestly tell you, Caylee, Gypsy Rose is a better woman than you are. I am not a Gypsy Rose fan at all. Actually, I refer to her as Gyp shit. But at least she admitted what she did. You've lied about it. You want to say you're in the law field? You didn't even graduate high school. How are you in the law field? People that are in the law field have to graduate high school. They have to go to college. They have to take classes. Just because you are a murderer who got away with it doesn't mean you're in the law field. You don't get a free pass. So I speak for many of us when I say, you're not welcome in our space. You're not welcome on our platforms. Be a woman and admit what you did. Give your baby some justice. Caylee deserves justice. You haven't been out there looking for the person who did this. You haven't been out here looking for new evidence or trying to get somebody else to be charged for this because you know who did it. You did. That baby never stood a chance. Searching chloroform on your family computer. We know what you did, Caylee. She's not innocent. She's not innocent at all. Anyways, what do you guys think? I want to know your thoughts. I'll meet you in the comments. Have the day you deserve. And if no one's told you today, love you. Bye.